Hello and welcome once again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Molero.
And we are the FAIRtax Guys, dedicated to the proposition that the IRS is a criminal enterprise and it needs to go away, and that there's a much better way to fund our federal government that is called the fair tax.
Yeah, you know, the more I learn about the IRS, the more Bob is right. It's not pretty. However, I'm going to start off on a different note here. First off, I want to remind you of our email address, thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. The reason I mention that
we got a nice fan letter the other day.
A very nice letter. And I'm not doing it just to brag, but it points out two things that we want to emphasize. Hey guys, I just started listening to your podcast a few weeks ago, and I have to say it's great. It's good to hear the discussion of the fair tax from people who really know it. We appreciate that. I've been a supporter of the fair tax since 2000, which I'm impressed with because that's longer than I've been involved with it. And I try to continually educate myself on the strengths of the fair tax as well as the arguments that people use against it. Your podcast is perfect for me to add to my studies. It will take me a little while to get through all of them, but they are perfect since I have about a 30. Yeah, especially for Brian. Yep. Anyways, the reason for my email is I wanted to pass along a recent article about my home state of Tennessee. We do not have an income tax, and other than a couple of small ancillary taxes, the state runs solely on revenue from a consumption tax. Well, as you could probably guess, we have major surpluses. We're going to spend all this money.
That's a great problem to have.
Yeah. Not only that, but it is projected that we will continue to have an economic boom in our state. Wow.
And that's similar to our state here of Florida. We have no income tax here either.
Yeah.
And we're doing a lot better than the rest of the country.
Yeah. Yep, and Texas is a similar situation.
Of course, Florida is a lot of tourism based. Tennessee is really a better example of what with a consumption tax.
Yeah, that's right, because they don't have the tourists we have.
Okay, and that is from Brian. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Decuir, Decuir. So, Brian, sorry if I butchered your name, but thanks for your letter.
Yeah, he included a link, which obviously we can't show you on the radio, but he included a link to a Forbes article, and the Forbes report. A glowing report to Tennessee that they were doing so well, and they credit it to their tax system because it was a consumption tax and not an income tax. That's very important. So if anybody asks you, if you're talking to them about the fair tax, and every once in a while we get something like this, well, how do we know it's going to work? Because it is working in a number of the states.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the Founding Fathers' original idea here was that the states would kind of be, proving grounds for different ideas.
Yeah.
Different states would do things different ways. We could see what works and what doesn't work. This clearly works. No income tax. A consumption tax-based economy clearly works. Tennessee's proved it. Florida's proved it. I think Texas has also proved it.
Yeah.
It works, folks. It works. Why not do it on the national level?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to thank Brian for sending that nice email, and also the point that he made. He's using it to learn about fair tax. That's exactly the purpose of FAIRtax Power Radio. I couldn't be more happy reading something like that. And the fact that he's an attorney, that's even better.
Amen. So, I tell you. Well, let's continue with the theme we started last episode.
Yeah.
What the fair tax will do for various different people. Now, what it will do for everybody. I don't know anybody, regardless of their political affiliation or ideology or whatever, that would not like to have more money in their pocket. And the fair tax does that. It gets rid of the income tax, which means withholding from your paycheck goes away. The payroll taxes for Social Security and Medicare go away, although those programs continue to be funded. But you get more money in your pocket. Plus, you get the prebate.
Yeah.
The prebate is actually really just a tax refund. And instead of once a year, like with the current system, you get a tax refund every month with a fair tax. More money in your pocket. It's great.
And there's an additional benefit, especially for people that are just struggling to get by. If you buy something used, especially the big ticket items like cars and houses, you buy something used, there's no fair tax on it because somebody already paid it once and there's no double taxation. So that's a huge benefit for the people that are just getting by.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you what, look, let's jump down to the bottom of the list there because no fair tax on used goods, of course, is going to encourage the use of people to buy used instead of to buy new. That conserves resources, and environmentalists should love that.
Oh, absolutely. And we talked about this when we interviewed Autry Pruitt. He brought it, and I had never thought of it before. And as a former science teacher, I'm a little embarrassed by that. But anyways, the environmentalists should be very happy with the fair tax because it does encourage people to buy used. Now, also, let me remind you, when you buy a car, you're spending energy. You're using energy because it takes a lot of energy to produce a car. So when you buy a new car, you're not only buying the car, you're using a lot of energy, indirectly. So buying a used car is very environmentally sound. So yes, the environmentalists should be very, very happy with the fair tax because it does encourage, reuse and recycle.
Amen. All right, let's jump back up to where we left off, and I'm going to push your button with this one. What does the fair tax do for a congressman who's in it for himself?
Well,
go.
And unfortunately, as I'm learning more about Washington, there seem to be more of those than the others. But yeah, for the congressman that is in it for him or herself, I don't think they're going to be real happy with the fair tax for the simple reason that it takes the tool of class warfare via the tax code out of their quiver. They can't use the tax system to play favorites, to pick winners and losers, because the fair tax is so terribly simple. It's so simple. It's a one-rate consumption tax that nobody can mess around with. All they can do is change the rate. But if they do change the rate, they have to change it on everybody. And they can't pick favorites, and they can't pick winners and losers. So those people in Congress that really like to game the system and go after their political enemies and reward their political friends, they may not be in favor of the fair tax. Now, if they really want to do something to help their constituents, they will. But if they're in it for themselves, they may not be too much in favor of the fair tax, but we will change their minds.
The problem is that those very congressmen are the ones that we, the people, are going to have to convince to pass this thing because they are in control. And when you think about it, we've made this point before here on FTPR. The tax code that we have now, all 74,000 pages, that includes a lot of the supporting court cases and court case law and things like that, but there's over 75,000 pages worth of tax code, and that is exactly the tax code that the political class wants you to have because they own the system. They can make it say anything they want to. They've made it say what we've got now. We, the people, have got to change their minds. We just have to do it.
Yeah. And we talked about this. Well, we've talked about it a number of times, but if you go back to the episode on the Frankenstein effect, I mean, Bob is absolutely right. They create this monster of a tax code and a monster of an agency. Then when something comes up that's particularly unpopular, like taxing the medalists in the Olympics. Oh, well, we can't have that, says the guy or the gal who voted for all these tax changes in the beginning. It's horrible.
Oh, it's insane. But we do have some good Congress people up there, especially the one that represents Florida's 3rd District. We've talked to him many times, Ted Yoho.
Yep.
He is a good guy, and he is really pushing this thing. We need to congratulate him and encourage others to be more like him.
And we interviewed him a while back, too.
Now, that's not a partisan endorsement. That's just a fact here.
That's okay, Bob. You and I can be partisan.
Okay.
Because it's just you and I. Anyway, so yeah, there are congressmen who are truly trying to do the right thing, and I'm lucky to be in District 3 in Florida and having Ted Yoho as my congressman. He's not going to be there forever because he said if the people reelect him, he'll serve for 4 terms and then he's done. All right, and we will hold him to his word. Now, I think we have some other good people that take his place, but for now, he's my congressman. He is not only a co-sponsor of the fair tax, but he's a strong supporter. So there are people in Congress around, on both sides of the aisle that are there truly to do what they think is in the best interest of the country. And those people will be attracted to the fair tax because there are so many advantages to the fair tax, for the people and for the economy in general. So those people are going to be very much in favor of it. And those, I think those people in Congress are not the ones that are, raking it in, using their position to enrich themselves. So they're, we can expect good support from those folks, and I think they'll be happy with this.
All right. Well, kind of in the same category with the congressmen, especially ones that are in it for themselves, lobbyists. I get to push another one of your buttons.
I heard the other day that there are about 12,000 lobbyists in D.C. Can you imagine that? 12,000 lobbyists in D.C. They all work in a place that I call Gucci Gulch. Gucci Gulch. Gucci Gulch. Yeah, they all wear Guccis and so forth. And they make their living. And most of those folks are there for the tax code. Yeah, there are other issues, but most of those folks are there for the tax code. So we have anywhere from maybe 6,000 to 8,000 lobbyists that are hammering on Congress people all the time, trying to make changes to the tax code.
Now, wait a minute. Dig this. I'm going to blow your mind here. Ready? I just did the math. You said 12,000 lobbyists. Mm-hmm. There are 535 members of Congress between the House and the Senate together. That is 22.429 lobbyists per congressperson. Can you imagine? They're outnumbered 22 to 1.
Holy cow. That's great. I'm glad you have your calculator handy there, but that's astounding. That's astounding that when we talk to Congressman Yoho, we've talked to him several times, and he says, I know people get the idea that we don't do much in Congress, he said, but it is a hurricane of activity up there with proposals and so forth. And if you want something done, you're going to have to stick your arm in the eye of the hurricane, to try to get something done. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. And now we know why, because there's 12,000 lobbyists, 22 for each congressperson, congressman and, representative and senator, just hammering on them all the time.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah, it's so anyway, so lobbyists, I don't think they're going to be happy with the fair tax because, again, it is simple. And you don't mess around with it. The only thing you can do as a congressman, the only thing you can do with a fair tax is change the rate. And when you do, you change it on everybody, and you can't play, favorites with that. So lobbyists I predict, are going to be relatively unhappy. At least the ones that work on the tax code.
Well, stay tuned here. We got a little program note here. You've got an idea in the back of your head called the tax code written by millionaires for billionaires.
Oh, yeah.
And that is exactly what we've got right now. We're going to hit that fairly soon here on FTPR.
Yep. That's going to be a good one. So, okay, what else can we talk about here?
The small business owner. That is a huge one because that is where most of the hiring in this economy takes place. Most people who are working are working for small businesses. Yep. I mean, you get some people that are working for GM or IBM or some of these huge corporations, but they are actually in the minority. Most people work for small businesses, and the health of small business in America really determines the health of the economy in America, and the fair tax is an absolute godsend, a boon for small business owners. We've talked to several of them.
Yeah. And the statistics show you that for a small business owner, sometimes the compliance costs, the costs of keeping up with the tax code and making sure they're legal and making sure that they're taking advantage of every legal loophole in there, the compliance cost is very often 7 times greater than the actual tax itself.
Yeah, that's called hiring attorneys and tax accountants and folks like that have to keep you out of jail because the tax code is too complicated for you yourself, the business owner, to deal with. So you got to pay somebody else to keep your bacon out of the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
And all those costs go away with the fair tax.
Yeah,
because
they do.
Just about all of these small businesses are already collecting a state sales tax. Very few states do not have a state sales tax. Mm-hmm. So it's something that the business people are already dealing with. It's not difficult at all. Ask Bob Matthews. He's the one that we talked to down in Denellen. It was just on and on and on about how much time it takes him, how much effort it takes him to comply with the tax code. And, of course, time is money when you're in business. And he says he can does his state sales tax things in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And hours and hours and hours dealing with the federal tax code. What is wrong with that picture?
Yeah. Yeah, you would gather pretty quickly that we've got a real problem there. And, of course, that's what Bob and I have been talking about for all this time. So, yeah, small business people are going to really benefit because it's going to free them up and allow them, instead of spending so much time and resources on defending themselves, making sure they're complying with the tax code, all that nonsense, they can actually attend to their business and maybe spend more time researching on how they can improve their business. Expand the business, improve their employee benefit package, whatever it takes.
Yeah, you hit on that. When small businesses thrive, the people who work for them also benefit greatly.
Yeah, as Bob mentioned, small businesses create most of the employment in this country. I've heard the figure 70%. 70% of the employment in this country is created by small business. So it's a big deal. And when you simplify things for them, I mean, just think of it. That's 70% of employment, and if they're able to expand their business, that usually means more employees. All right? Or at least higher wages. So it's going to be a huge benefit to the small business people.
Especially those that are competing in the international market like Bob Matthews.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point.
Because that's another whole deal. When on the global market, goods that come from other countries do not have a huge tax component embedded in their price, and ours does, just because of the way the system is. And we've got to take that out of there, make American products more competitive on the global market. When that happens, then obviously there's more demand for those products. Then there is more demand for workers to produce them. It produces jobs. It's just works. It works.
Yeah, it works well. And like we said before, we know it works because a number of our states are consumption tax only, and they're doing quite well. Unlike some of the rest of the country.
All right, let's scoot down your list just a little bit and talk about something that's really important, especially here in the state of Florida, and that's retirees.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah, I are one of them.
Yeah, because every once in a while we'll get an email and say, I've already put my retirement savings away. I've got this IRA, or I get a pension and so forth, and now you want me to spend, to spend money on it when I take it out and go shopping. Well, yeah, but let's take a look at some other things here too, all right? This is really, the fair tax is really going to benefit retired people.
Yeah, but dig this, a lot of people who have IRAs, those are tax-deferred IRAs. They have not paid tax on that money yet.
That's right.
So they will pay it one way or another when they take it out. Either Uncle Sam will take a big chunk away from it off the top like he does with working people in their paychecks, or you'll be taxed when you spend it.
Yep, you got your IRA, or another thing that when I was in education, they had a tax sheltered annuity. TSA is what they called it, and it was put away at a lower income level, or no income tax was taken out at all, with the idea that when you retire, you'll be in a lower income tax bracket, and you're better off saving it now and being taxed on it later. Well, when we pass the fair tax, you won't be taxed on it at all. All that savings, the interest, everything. You're not going to be taxed on that at all. That will essentially be tax-free money. And if you have other investments that you're getting interest or dividends, there won't be any tax on the interest or dividends. So that, number one, is going to be a huge advantage for retired people when they start drawing their retirement benefits.
And, of course, the retired people, along with everyone else, will get the monthly prebate.
Yeah, that's right. Every legal household in the country gets a prebate. Depending on the size of the household. And that's all it depends on, the size of the household. Generally, when you're retired, it's two people, husband and wife. And I don't have the prebate schedule in front of me, but they're going to get a couple $100 a month to help them out. All right. When they draw Social Security, there will be no withholding from Social Security, all right, as there is now.
Yep, I pay tax on my Social Security, and my wife is just going to be starting to draw hers here shortly. She just had to carry a little form down to the Social Security Administration to get tax withheld from it, so you don't get banged with it when you file your return in April.
Yeah, so you'll get your entire Social Security along with your entire retirement distribution, along with the prebate. These all amount to huge windfalls for retired people. So, no, the fair tax is not going to hurt retired people, all right? Because It's going to remove a lot of their expenses. It's going to give them a prebate. It's going to do well. The retired people are going to do very well when the fair tax becomes law.
And a lot of this also, will back up a little bit, applies to the low-income earners that are working now and are not drawing a huge paycheck. They will be getting the prebate. They will be getting their full paycheck amount. It works for the seniors, and, of course, it works the same way for those who are working and still on the lower end of the rung down there.
Yep. So that's going to be a big advantage. All right.
You mentioned something a minute ago. Illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
They probably aren't going to like this too good.
No, because, right now you have not only illegal immigrants, but a few other people who are working under the table and never report. Remember, we talked about the fact that the tax gap, what is not collected by the IRS that people should be paying, is over $600 billion because people are underreporting their income or not reporting it at all.
Yeah, now let that sink in. $600 billion is owed but not collected.
Yeah, and who makes up for that?
We do.
Yes, that's right.
And the national debt goes up close to $20 trillion now. But the fair tax is a system which will bring everybody, legal and illegal, into the tax base, because when you buy stuff and your spending exceeds the poverty level, the prebate pays you back for the tax you pay on your spending up to the poverty level. But once your spending exceeds the poverty level, then you have to start taking money out of your pocket. And the illegal folks are not going to get the prebate. They're going to pay the tax from $1.
Yep. So under the fair tax, you can earn as much as you want. You can be as productive as you want and earn as much as you want. And you're not going to have to worry about tax brackets because there will be none. All right. You only get taxed when you go to the store or pay for a service. So, and like Bob said, legal households get the prebate, but the others don't. So illegal immigrants are going to get a double whammy. They're going to start to pay the tax when they go to the store, and also they're not going to get the prebate because they're not here legally. I think that's going to encourage, maybe there'll be some kind of a program to sign these people up and get them legal. I don't know. That's a whole nother issue that we're not going to get into here. But however it's resolved, the fair tax is going to push the issue. It's really going to push the issue. And I'll just say it again. All right. Almost 100 years ago, my parents and grandparents came illegally. They reported into Ellis Island. Their names are on the wall of immigrants on Ellis Island. I'm very proud of that. That's it for me. That's what people should be doing. So okay. Those that choose to skirt around and come here illegally and work under the table and not pay taxes, well, it's not going to be so cushy for them anymore.
Fair tax is going to get them. One more item on our list we need to get to before we run out of time. CPAs, tax attorneys, lawyers, folks like that. What happens to them under the fair tax?
Well, we have people say, well, the CPAs aren't going to like this. Well, actually, we've had a number of CPAs, and I ran into another one not too long ago, who have been to our fair tax presentations, and they love the idea of the fair tax.
Because you got to realize that CPAs do more than just taxes.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, though, isn't it, Bob?
That's kind of the image that people have in their mind of CPAs just help business people with their taxes. But when you are freed from that, and you don't have to spend those countless hours keeping up with the tax code, which is so complicated, not all of them can do it well. There's lots of other things CPA types can do to help their businesses, and they actually would rather be doing that than slogging through the tax code.
Yeah, a lot of these people, the CPA that we had, my wife and I had when we had our small business, he said his opinion was the tax code was immoral.
That's a good description.
He hated it, He really disliked it, and he would much rather be doing just exactly what Bob was saying. Have customers that have money to invest and advise them on wisely investing their money. You got this much, you can do this, and then we're going to have companies that will be competing with each other, investment firms, for different types of instruments. Of investment. Well, if you invest here, you'll get a little bit here, but later on when you retire, you get more and so forth. There'll be all kinds of creative instruments out there for people to invest their money in. And people are going to have more money to invest because the economy is going to boom. the economy is going to explode under the fair tax. There's going to be a lot more people working, and people are going to be having more disposable cash, and they are going to have money to invest.
Yeah, I don't remember who said this, but it's been described as rocket fuel for the economy.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're right on with that.
That, by the way, the guy that said that is Stephen Moore.
Oh, okay.
All right. He is an advisor for Mr. Trump. Okay.
So, no matter who you are, unless you are a congressman in it for yourself, a lobbyist, or an illegal immigrant, those are the folks that might not really like this too much. But if you're not one of those three, you are going to love the fair tax.
Yeah,
once you understand it, you'll demand it, I guarantee you.
Going down the list from our two programs, low-income earner, middle income, higher income, a newborn baby. Well, of course, they won't realize it, but later on, college student, unemployed construction worker, congressman in it for himself. All right. Well, no, Bob just said they're not going to be happy, but congressmen that are really trying to improve the country, small business owner, retired senior, CPA, environmentalist. Yeah, those people are all going to like it. Now, I'm sure in the few minutes that we had to do that, we probably missed some really good ones here, but that's really all we have time for.
Well, maybe Brian or one of his friends can write in again and give us some more meat to talk about here.
Yeah. So, we'd be happy, let's send some more some nice emails like Brian sent. But
so once again, our email address, thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. Thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. We've also got a Facebook page. Facebook, just look up The Fair Tax Guys, and you'll see why we're on the radio and not the television.
Yep,
But,
I try to get...
do want to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. We really do. I mean...
and you better get the plug in for your webinar so your wife will let you come home tonight.
Yeah, but, going on, yes, we really do want to hear from you. Not so we can pat ourselves in the back. We like input from people. It gives us ideas, for other shows and so forth. Yes, the webinar. Every month there is a webinar. It generally is the fourth Thursday of the month. Now, November and December are a little different because of the holidays, but the fourth Thursday. So you have to register for the webinar. To do that, you go to FAIRtax/webinar. I'm sorry, FAIRtax.org/webinar. FAIRtax.org/webinar. You put in your name, email address, and so forth. They will send you an email with a link, and it's generally at 8 p.m. on the fourth Thursday, and about 5 minutes to 8, you click the link, and your computer does the rest of it. It's interactive. You can type in questions. You can click the little hand, and they'll put you on live to ask a question. But it's a good way. And so, if there are people that don't have a lot of time, that's a real quick way to get not only an introduction, but they also handle a special topic. And I can't remember what the special topic is going to be in October, but anyways, there will be a special topic. What else, Bob?
All right. Well, what else is we got to have people join AFFT.
Yeah.
Membership in Americans for Fair Taxation. That is the national level grassroots organization. We've got to have membership there so the Congress critters will pay attention to us.
The best way to do that is bigsolution.org. Bigsolution.org. And it's got 4 main buttons: connect, support, contribute, and build. And so go there and investigate bigsolution.org, and please, please, please become a member. And if you see a way fit, become a sustaining member.
Yeah, I like that 1040 club. We want to get rid of the 1040. So if it's worth $10.40 a month to you to never have to do income tax again, that level of support at AFFT would be greatly appreciated.
Yep. So, all right.
All right. Well, I'm afraid that's just about going to wrap it up. Do it to it. It's so much. So time flies when you're having so much fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to work on that tax code written by billionaires for millionaires here shortly. Until then, this is Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
The Fair Tax Guys, reminding you that the fair tax is America's big solution, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
Fair tax is coming.